The email came in at 6:12 a.m. No greeting. No buildup. Just a short notice saying Daniel Mercer's role had ended. Effective immediately. His access to company systems had already been turned off. By the time the sun came up, nearly a decade of steady work was gone. Daniel sat at the kitchen table with his phone face down. The coffee beside him had gone untouched. Outside, the city was already awake. Cars moved through intersections. Someone waited for a bus. A delivery truck idled at the curb. Nothing slowed down. Daniel didn't rush to make calls. He didn't react out loud. He stayed still long enough to understand that the decision wasn't up for discussion. A week earlier, he had been told everything was fine. For most of his career, Daniel believed in structure. He believed that careful work mattered, that clear records and steady habits created stability over time. What he hadn't fully understood was how quietly systems could fail. Not with alarms or warnings, but with small shifts. Decisions made behind closed doors. Conversations he was never part of. And when those systems corrected themselves, they rarely explained who absorbed the impact first. Daniel lived a predictable life. He worked as a compliance analyst at a mid-sized financial firm in Chicago. The company promoted itself as careful and responsible, which mattered to him. He had joined early in his career and stayed because the work matched his temperament. His role involved reviewing internal decisions, verifying documentation, and ensuring regulatory requirements were actually met, not just referenced in presentations. It wasn't exciting work. It was precise work. Daniel took it seriously. He arrived early, kept detailed notes, and avoided office politics. For years, it seemed to work. About 3 years before the email, a new department head joined the company. His name was Mark Ellison. Mark was confident and well-spoken. He favored broad summaries over details. He was brought in to streamline operations and modernize processes. At first, Daniel welcomed the change. They worked together on several projects. Mark asked for reviews and requested summaries. He thanked Daniel in meetings. On the surface, everything looked functional. Over time, Daniel noticed small shifts. Reports were shortened. Before submission, compliance notes were reworded. Recommendations were reframed as optional. Daniel flagged these changes quietly. He sent follow-up emails. He saved earlier versions. Mark responded politely. He said everything aligned with policy. Daniel accepted the explanations, but he kept his records. The first real warning came during an internal review meeting. Mark referenced a conversation Daniel didn't remember having. After the meeting, Daniel checked his email. There was no record of it. Daniel's name began appearing on approvals he hadn't made, documents he hadn't finalized were marked as reviewed. Each instance was minor. Together, they formed a pattern. Then came the audit notice. Daniel prepared background materials. Carefully, Mark asked for a simplified version. Daniel sent both. 2 days later, Daniel was removed from the audit correspondence. A week later, Mark told him everything looked good. The termination email arrived 3 days after the audit concluded. Daniel noticed the timing. Daniel took a week off. He didn't argue. He didn't post. He didn't ask for explanations. Instead, he organized emails, version histories, meeting notes. What he found was alignment. His termination matched the audit timeline. It wasn't personal. It was convenient. That realization stayed with him. Daniel consulted an employment attorney. He presented facts, not emotions. The attorney asked one question. Do you want your job back? Or do you want the record to be accurate? Daniel chose the record. The decision was clear to him. They filed a formal clarification request, not a lawsuit. Documentation showed concerns raised, roles reduced, and termination timing. Weeks later, regulators requested additional documentation from leadership. Pressure increased internally. Daniel's records spoke quietly. They didn't need interpretation. The firm conducted an internal review. Mark's role was reevaluated. 2 months later, his position was vacant. No announcements were made. The change happened quietly. Daniel received a letter. His termination was reclassified as a restructuring error. His record showed no performance issues. He accepted a settlement, not foreclosure, because he already had it. The outcome was settled. Daniel didn't return to the firm. He found work elsewhere. He kept the same habits. But he no longer Assumed silence meant safety. Only that preparation made outcomes predictable. That understanding stayed with him.